War ended in the United States, I remember it very well. We were searching for the peace dividend. And so, look, we've never been perfect. But I have to tell you, the military of the 1980s was as close to perfection as you're going to get. Because we existed for one reason and one reason only, and that was to literally fight 2.5 wars at the same time and win. And we trained so very hard to do this. We had good equipment. We had good leaders. We had good quality troops. We had gotten over the malaise of Vietnam. We had volunteers that were coming in. And, we had this very professional military, but it was expensive as hell to keep this military the size that we had. Because, again, fighting 2.5 wars requires a lot of troops and a lot of equipment. We had pre-positioned equipment. This is what enabled us to do Desert Storm, so that the Marine 7th Amphibious Brigade, or it became this Marine 7th Marine Expeditionary Brigade, could just get on airplanes, fly to the Middle East, and shipping containing their equipment would get to the port, offload. They could marry up that equipment and go on. You didn't have to load up all the equipment on a ship and have that ship sail out with the Marines on board like you did in World War II or in Korea. We had maritime pre-positioning ships. We could marry up. The Army did the same thing. We were ready for this conflict. And then we said, well, the Cold War is over. We don't need to fight 2.5 wars anymore. And so we broke it down. For a while, we were there doing 1.5 wars. So then they said, one war. And then they said, well, we're just going to be ready to respond to little crises. We're not really prepared to fight a war. If we need to fight a war, we don't know who we're going to fight against because we've got great relations with the Chinese. We're waiting for them to turn over to capitalism. The Soviet Union's gone. Russia's weak. There's not going to be a major war in Europe. We're just going to focus on making these expeditionary brigades that we can send around. Oh, gosh, 9/11 came. Let's send our troops over to Afghanistan and Iraq. But we're going to keep that brigade structure because we really don't know what we're doing. And the system just became broke, fundamentally broke. We don't know how to fight a modern war. But this has never been about fighting a modern war. Since the end of the Cold War, it's been about institutionalizing war profiteering. It's stopped being about giving the troops that which they need to accomplish the mission. And it became, how do we posture in the most expensive way? We became addicted to technology. As we shrunk our military and shrunk the capacity to deploy meaningful numbers of troops, we offset that with technology. We have artillery systems that can fire quicker and more accurately. We can, we don't need all these troops because we can cover it with aircraft. I mean, we became addicted to air power in Afghanistan and Iraq because there was no air defense. There was no hostilities. There was nothing, no hostile aircraft. We could just control the skies, and we became spoiled by the immediate availability of aircraft. And it just changed everything we did. Our defense industry became about building the most expensive weapon system down the road without really thinking it through about who we wanted to fight. We claimed we needed just to be better than everybody. And so that's how we got F-22s. That's how we got F-35s. Two really crappy systems. Scott, they're not crap. They're really good. They're not really good. Difficult to maintain. Why do you think we stopped producing the F-22? Because it's not very good. And the F-35, Congress right now is reviewing it. It's not very good either. They're just not good airplanes. That B-21 bomber we're building, it's not very good either. That Sentinel ground launch ballistic missile, it's really not any good. We don't build anything that's good anymore. It's very expensive. There's a lot of technology involved, but it's designed simply to put money in the pockets of the defense industry that then feeds that money back into the political system so that both the representatives who allocate the money and the people who receive the money are very happy. That's what the American defense industry has become. It's a cycle of corruption, so to speak. But it's not about giving our warfighters the best equipment possible. It's the exact opposite. And now we have a system right now where we can't fight a war. Literally, we can't fight a war. Not a modern war. I know there's a lot of people out there who take umbrage at that. But, you know, what do we have? What do we got in Europe? How many troops do we have? Can those troops, you know, do the sustain? Back in the Cold War, when, you know, when I lived in Germany, you know, they ran exercises called Reforger. I remember Reforger 77, the year that I arrived, Reforger 78, 79. Basically, you know, we would fly in. We had the ability to fly in 300,000 troops in 10 days. 300,000 troops. In addition to the 250,000 troops we already had in Germany, 300,000 troops who would fall in on their pre-positioned equipment. So we had entire corps worth of equipment there. Corps, not division, not brigade, not battalion. Corps. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of troops fly in, marry up with their equipment. Now, this equipment isn't just there. It's got to have ammunition. Ammunition ready to fight now and sustain that fight. So we had massive ammunition dumps full of ammo ready for the war. Those tanks need gas. They need petrol. Where is that? We have huge fuel dumps already, the fuel purchased, ready, earmarked for the war. We have aircraft in place with the fuel, with the bombs, with the missiles, everything right there, leaning forward to go to war. We were ready. Today we got nothing. They put a brigade in Poland. In one little place. You don't think the Russians can put some Iskanders in there and just take that out that quick? Of course they can. We've got one port we land in, Hamburg. That too's going to be gone. Then where do we land? What kind of infrastructure does Europe have? Europe's not prepared for this anymore. Europe used to do nothing but prepare for this kind of fighting. Every part of Europe was prepared for it. Today, no, none of Europe's prepared for it. They don't think about it, and they can't afford to become prepared for it. This is one of the frustrating things for NATO right now, because they keep talking the need to expand, but the reality is they're looking at going, we can't afford it. We can't afford to do this expansion, because it's not just about, you know, building more tanks, building more. It's from top to bottom, reconditioning Europe to be ready for large-scale ground combat in Europe. Europe's not ready for it. Their infrastructure's not ready for it. Nothing. They're politically not ready for it. The mindset's not ready for it. The Russians are. The Russians have been prepared for this for some time now. Since 2008, Russia got a wake-up call when they fought that short little war against Georgia. Yes, Russia won, but it wasn't pretty. The Georgian infantry was trained by the Marines. And the Russians were saying, these guys, small unit tactics, are pretty damn good. I mean, they're moving, they're shooting, they're communicating, they're doing stuff. You know, there's just not enough of them, so we're able to blow the hell out of them with artillery, moving with tanks and all that. But they're really good. They communicate better than we do. They coordinate better than we do. We need to do this better. So in 2008, Russia started reworking it. We saw how improved they were in 2014 when the Russian military moved on Crimea. But even then, the Russians had to work on it. And they've been working on it ever since. The Russian military that started in 2022, in February 2022, still had a lot of problems. The Russian army today is the most combat-tested military force on the planet. This is a military that's literally built for war, from top to bottom. Every aspect of this military, all those fat-ass officers that get developed in peacetime, who, you know, don't do anything because they don't need to do anything. They just have to look good. They fake it to make it. Next thing you know, boom, they're a general. They're in a desk. They're geniuses, brilliant, running money and all that stuff. Then the war comes. Now they have to go out there and command. They have no idea how to do it. And they're out there, and all those officers are gone. They're finished. The only officers in place today are guys that have proved themselves in combat. That's it. It's the crucible of excellence. And the Russian officers today, they may not be able to quote, the philosophers. They may not be the, academic scholars of the. These are guys that can sit down in the mud and plan a battle and execute the battle. And Russian officers are a little bit different, especially at the general level, than ours. Our general officers like to hang back in the rear with the phones and all that. Russian officers are like, what the hell's going on up front? We got to get me up to the front. They're out there in the front. Go, move. Get out there. Bam, they're dead. Everybody goes, oh, they killed a Russian general. The Russians suck. No, it's because their generals are out front leading. That's called leadership. And the Russian military is full of battle-tested. These guys guys. I mean, that medal they put on the chest of people, that little star, the hero of Russia. Look how many guys have it, and they don't get it. They don't give them away. You get it by doing some really kick-ass stuff, and then you take a look. There was a time you could tell. When during the global war on terror, when special forces units were deploying often. You take a look at the chest of some of these guys, and you're sitting there going, they have multiple silver stars, multiple bronze stars, multiple purple hearts, and you're going, Jesus, that guy's been around the block. Well, you're looking at these Russians, and they got the gold star, but then they got the orders of valor, the orders of courage, and you're just sitting there going, how much goddamn, excuse my language, but how much fighting did these guys do? All they've been doing it. Yeah, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. All they've been doing for the last 2.5 years is fighting in the most intensive, high-intensity ground combat in modern history. Fighting and surviving and winning. And that's the totality of it. There are no weak-ass Russian officers anymore. You go to the Russian military academy now, and there's not the hanger queens that have avoided doing anything real out there, just getting their academic ticket punch so they can go serve the Kremlin and get fat and happy. Those guys are gone. They've been purged. The guys that are in there right now are rock-hard officers who are focused solely on combat tasks, how to make our military more lethal on the battlefield. If you're not on the battlefield, then you're taking the lessons from the battlefield back to academia, rewriting doctrine so that you can train people to be more efficient. This is a lean, mean killing machine, and the West just can't match it right now because we don't have that mindset. We're not in the mindset of this is existential. They're still running everything as normal in the West. You go to West Point. They are so DEI crazy right now. It's crazy. I don't mean to. I didn't want to go there, but we forgot what it's like to be killers. Because again, if you're in the military, you only have one job. I don't mean to be too crude, but it's to kill people. That's it. You exist to either kill them yourselves or help other people be ready to kill them. Facilitate death. If you're not facilitating the death of the enemy, then why are you in the military? Get the hell out. We're worried about the wrong things. The Russians are producing equipment that is designed to help their soldiers defeat the enemy that quick. In and out. They are turning around problem sets. As they gather intelligence, they take it up to defense industry, and they are turning that around and getting a weapon back that answers a problem within months. It takes us years to get defense industry to do something, and then only if we prime them with enough dollars, because it's not about helping the shooter, it's about helping the politician. It's about jobs. Do you remember the $66 billion we wanted to send, or the $90 billion, 66 of which was Ukrainian, that was held up? Remember the number one selling point, how it was sold? It's all about jobs, man. Why are you guys opposing it? 48 billion of this isn't even going to Ukraine. It's coming right back into us to make jobs. We're going to build weapons for us. Jobs. God, we're doing the wrong thing. We should be right now, if we're serious about this, we should be getting a military in peacetime that's ready to operate day one in wartime, which means we have to get hard, we have to get focused, we have to train, and we have to get our defense industry in gear. None of that's happening because there's no necessity for it. And that tells you something. All this political talk about Russia being a threat, the politicians know that it's BS. Because if Russia was really a threat, then we would be leaning for it hard. But we're not, because we know Russia's not a threat. We know that Russia's not going to go into Poland. We know Russia's not going to go into the Baltics. We're making all this stuff up so that we can justify sending more money to Ukraine, which we're willing to sacrifice so that we can have jobs in America that are based upon producing weapons that are there to service conflicts abroad that we create. I just told you how America operates in the world today. We create conflicts abroad that generate a need for military systems that we produce, we provide, and we put money in the pockets of the defense industry and the American politicians. That's the sickest justification for the existence of a nation I could possibly imagine. But that's America in a nutshell today. I wish it wasn't. I'm not proud of it. I'd love to change it. But that's the reality. We need war for our economy to work.